Hello, viewers. This is Lady Salome from Measure Wellness. Today, again, I'm very, very excited. And also, a little bit down, not on a bad note. However, because this is something that is going on in our community that we need to address. I have with me today a very dear sister, a psych APRN. But before I introduce her, I want you to think about these statistics. Just put it at the back of your mind. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in Black young men from age 10 to 20 years. This is the young adults of our children. And also the WHO just put out from their studies that suicide among young adult girls in minority community have increased 30% between ages 10 and 25. With the pandemic and everything going on, things are crazy, but this is happening and this is real. If it has not happened to you, you might not think that it exists. So today, this topic that we are talking about is serious here. So I have with me Georgina Chumesi. She goes by Gina. She's a psych APRN. And this woman, she's into private practice. She have 2 locations, one in Manchester and one in Bristol. She go for psych on demand. That means she bring the psych to your home. You don't need to even travel to go get the help that you need. Georgina is a wife. She's a mom. She's a woman of faith. Having moved from Africa to the US as a young lady and having to overcome a lot of obstacles to be where she is today, she definitely understands the change and the emotional pain that you have to go through to just go through this life that we are in. So today I'm very excited to have her here, and we are talking about a topic, depression, and how we could manage it functionally and some medications if necessary. So I love this woman. A friend introduced me to her, and ever since we connected, she's been wonderful. Anytime you reach out, she's there for you. And she have a lot of mantras, but I think the one that I loved most, learn to live life intentionally. I love that.
For sure.
So, Auntie Georgina, you are welcome to Measure Wellness.
So glad to be here. So glad, right back to you. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for honoring our invitation. And Auntie Gina is also a YouTuber, so have it at the back of your mind. Georgina Chumesi Psych, and have interesting topics out there. And I want you viewers to check it out.
Yes.
So I know you're a busy woman. Probably there's an appointment in line immediately after this.
For sure.
I just want us to go ahead right away. So we're talking about depression today. And it's something that we don't talk about. People think, oh, just pray over it, forget about it. What is depression?
Oh, this is such an excitement. I'm always so excited when it comes to topics like this to have, a broader outreach than just our, dinner table, which our dinner table chatting about mental health, depression, anxiety, and so on, I think is really key. But what is depression? Depression, without really going to like book lingo or whatnot, but I want to mention that in our line of work, we use a book called DSM-5, and there's a book, paper version, and there's an online version. If you're interested in checking it out, anybody listening, you can do that if you want to review symptoms and stuff like that. But anyway, we go through and we look at, it's a cluster of symptoms that we look at, and depression is, we say it's like it's a spectrum, right? Somebody can have mild to all the way to moderate to really severe, and severe even with like psychosis, where you're hearing things, seeing things, you're hallucinating. So some of the typical symptoms that would describe depression, the very few ones I would say is change from baseline, from what the person would typically be. If you're a family member and you are used to them appearing a certain way, and I want also to not exclude our young ones, as young as even 5 years old and above. I've been seeing an increased number of younger people, like 5 and above. So change from their baseline or for how they normally are. So change in appetite. All of a sudden they are eating too much, anything in sight, snacking all over the place, or they're not eating, barely eating at all, changing energy level, they are sleeping a lot, they're not waking up, or they have a lot of trouble waking up in the morning. Yes, sometimes when the season changes colder, it's difficult to get up in the morning, but difficulty to the point where on the weekends, there's no stressor, so to speak, but it's hard for them to get out of it. They're sleeping till noon to 2 o'clock if you allow them to. Changing outlook for life, like there's no joy, like everything is such a drag. Even if you talk to them enough, they can sometimes, people can describe it as feeling heavy, a heavy feeling of just feeling like there's a big elephant on your shoulder all the time. And there are people also can have presentation, like they can't concentrate, like they go to work and it's like they're all over the place. They're making unnecessary mistakes and all this stuff. They are feeling worthless about themselves. You can hear the tonation in their talking, like everything is negative, they have some negative tonation to it. They are helpless. They are to the point of being hopeless, so you just gotta listen out and have a sensitive ear to what's happening. And the worst part of this disorder is when people start saying or throwing things out there like there's no reason for them to be here anymore. They don't have any desire to be alive anymore, or what we call suicidal ideation. So like I said before, from mild to really severe, where some people might even be acting very paranoid, like they're checking doors constantly, checking, there are things happening in this world that makes that on edge, but on edge up to where they can't sleep. They're constantly, checking, paranoia, hearing things, seeing things like, did you hear that? Did you see anything there? Did you see a shadow? Do you see, like, you just hear, like, you're just like, oh, just forget it. Oh, you're so crazy. We typically can dismiss people, but I think we have come to the age and time now that very little things like that, subtle drop hints from our family members, we cannot take them for granted. It's good to stop, like in nursing or medical terms, we say, stop the line, stop, think, ask again, hey, what did you say? And check on them again and again on them. So those are some of the symptoms that would typically present. But I also want to pinpoint that a lot of time, depression goes hand in hand, intertwined with anxiety a lot. We typically don't see depression in isolation from anxiety. So depression and anxiety usually go hand in hand, and we treat them together. Because a lot of times people come to me at the point of detriment that they can't handle the anxiety anymore. So anxiety about life changes maybe, and anxiety can be more on edge, like you feel internally restless. Some people might have sweaty palms, sweaty armpits. They might feel tense, muscles tense. In the mornings, they might feel like a thing in their throat. Some people might even start throwing up in the mornings. They might not say, they might not know what it is that they're experiencing with all those feelings. Some people might have constipation a lot, or some people might have diarrhea even, like depending on how stressful. Now I'll use my personal experience as an example. I usually like to make it. So like a year or two ago, I was going through a really difficult life change, and I'm like, what? I just got so bound up. Like usually I usually go to the bathroom at least once or twice. I don't know, gross anybody out or anything, once or twice a day is my usual way. But all of a sudden I'm like, I can't go. Like I'm so impacted that I have to disimpact myself or use laxatives or stool softness constantly. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And that was the time where things started, more awareness about colon cancer and the presentation. And I started freaking. I'm like, what is going on? So I went to my medical provider, and I'm already a little bit on the edge when it comes to changes. I'm like, what is my, like, am I all of a sudden like getting sick? So went to check out, they're like, yeah, you need a colonoscopy, even though you don't meet the age criteria, but because you're African-American, and this thing that we are doing today is also focusing a lot to bring awareness to our minority African-American immigrant community, so to speak. But anyway, so when my medical doctor was like, just to be cautious, I want you to have the colonoscopy. So I went ahead and did it. Oh, they found a lot of impaction, a lot of stool there. And so they went on and asked me more what's going on in my life. And now, I have no reservation. I, told them what was going on. They're like, yeah, it's all from stress. You got to manage your stress better. You're good about doing the talking and doing, but sometimes we also, as provided nurses, doctors, pastors, nursing aides, you're working at the bank, name it, financial expert. We are the experts. We do the talking, we do the coaching and all of that, but sometimes we fail to do it ourselves and for our immediate family members.
Yeah.
So I had to take my own pill and start to kind of put certain things in place for myself to de-stress. So that was my example, like things like anxiety, how it can impact even your physical
Wow.
health. So
Wow.
that's in a little nutshell how depression and anxiety can present, and like an example, like a medical issue, even how that can cascade into that.
Wow, that is deep. If you just join us or you're listening to us anywhere, it's like, oh my God, Lady Salome, where are you today? Ezra Wellness, we're talking about wellness as general. And today we are looking at mental health, anxiety, and as she said, depression. This is real stuff. So we want you to pay attention and listen in. So then, Gina, then the question is, are there types of depression?
There are various types of depression. Before I even go in there, I forgot to mention one point. The presentation of depression and anxiety in younger kids can be slightly different from adults too. I want to make sure I mention this, because sometimes we miss it. In kids, sometimes maybe from age 7 and above or so, it's more presentation of misbehavior, what we call misbehavior. And sometimes in our culture, depending on discipline or autocratic type of parenting, not being so enlightened or not ready to embrace, so to speak, Western culture. I believe in blending Western culture as well as our own traditions of disciplining our kids. But sometimes when it gets to the point where we are just dismissing kids and say, go sit somewhere, you're such a bad kid, you're not listening, you're awful, of course, we go into the whooping and being all taking their things away. Take a minute, because sometimes kids can present as very irritable, more angry, acting out, not listening, just really like wake up in the morning and they just had to deal with, like they just all of a sudden like, what is happening with this kid? Are they they're not just trying to challenge you. They're not just trying to make you angry intentionally. Kids sometimes when they're scared, there's changes in the home. Mom or dad is working alone. They have to go to the babysitter alone. There's change in schooling. They've just traveled here from maybe Africa or wherever, Jamaica, and they just got here. We don't even realize the impact that kids just so fearful and anxious and scared. They just want somebody to talk to. We'll talk about resources later, but I just wanted to make sure that we look at the presentation, because kids don't have a baseline. Adults, sometimes we have a baseline established how we show up. And teens, sometimes with the changes in hormones, especially girls, even boys, like changing hormones for them already, maybe starting their period and stuff like that, can also make them even more anxious, like trying to figure it all out. And sometimes it's just good as parents to just take a minute to like talk to them, and not just talk to them once and say, that's it. Just constant talking and checking and say, what really is going on, then checking it up to, kid is being bad, you're not listening, you're stressing me out, go dismiss you, go sit somewhere, so just wanted to kind of put that out there. But there are so many different types of depression, from just situational depression, things that are happening, like I was mentioning, maybe changing life in the home, parents maybe going through transitioning, separation, maybe divorce even, or just being a very difficult relationship at home to begin with. These days, we, like myself, my age group, I call it the sandwich generation, right? Sometimes in some of our households, we have the parents, we have the children, and then sometimes have the grandparents. Sometimes we have the auntie and uncles even in the same home. Yeah. And sometimes those things are coming in, new people are coming in to stay. We don't take a minute to see how the impact of that on the kid, sharing a room all of a sudden with another person,
Wow.
and they have to be made to, like, without even taking their consideration. Or kids who are like separation or divorce, and all of a sudden they have to go one home in 1 week, another home 1 week, or 2 days here, 3 days here. They're packing their bags, they're going, coming, going, coming. We don't even take a minute to say, we all just sucked into our feelings of the parent, what we have to do, and just, failing to see that. So depression can be situational like that for both parents and kids. Can be environmental, like I mentioned, like toxic, abusive relationship, environment, verbal, emotional, physical abuse, financial abuse, things like that. Or can be stemming from genetics. Some families might have struggles with diabetes, high blood pressure and things, but some families struggle with mental health, anxiety, more so on a higher degree than others. So mild, moderate, and then severe, depending on what's happening environmentally or genetically or biologically, so to speak. And then sometimes you have different type, like bipolar depression, and sometimes we throw this word out, like sometimes the weather might be going like one moment is nice, then tomorrow is rainy, and then it's really cold. It's like, oh my God, this weather is so bipolar. Or somebody's asking, sometimes especially women, moody for the time, and they always present like they have this attitude about them all the time. Like you can't even like they seem not approachable. Like, so like, that girl, she's so bipolar, she's like that, she's so crazy, things like that. But bipolar is a very real thing, and bipolar presents slightly different. I don't want to get into it too much, but bipolar, like sometimes 4 or 5 days where somebody's hyper, like talking a lot, not talking like, for me, my base, I'm very chatty, especially when I get to know someone, super chatty. But when I don't know you, I might be reserved. But I'm talking about chatty where somebody's talking one topic, next thing you know, talking the weather, then they talk about the TV, then they talk about some project they're going to do sometime later, and they're jumping, like their mind is like all over the place, like a revved up machine, and it's like days at a time, and they're very impulsive, maybe with money. They're going on maybe these days with like click, you're shopping, they're like on Amazon, they're buying things like credit card, it's being revved up, like just things that are not practical though, like the things you need, just unnecessary things that should not be, like they're not taking a minute to think, do I even need this right now? But that's the bipolar mode. So very impulsive, irritable, angry, out of proportion, yelling, screaming, breaking things, punching walls, even. So extremes of mood. Well, one of the classic things also to look for bipolar will be decreased need for sleep. So it's like, I don't have time for sleep. In the middle of the night, they might be eating, they might be cooking, vacuuming, cleaning the house. All of a sudden, it's like this energy for days. They're literally not sleeping. They might be sleeping maybe an hour or two, or literally not sleeping the whole night. But through the day, for those 3, 4, 5 days, they are full of energy. They are zip-zapping, and you're like, whoa, are you okay? Then a week or two, they are so depressed, can't get out of bed, low energy, sad, might be crying a lot. And then sometimes they have this yo-yo of 4 days, 5 days, a week, 2 days of low. So up and down the mood like that. But so that's bipolar, and then depression, and then it can be psychotic features sometimes with it. And then the social anxiety where people might be anxious to do social things, even some people to the extreme where they can't even go grocery shopping, they can't get out of their house, they can't go to church, or if they come, it takes such effort to engage socially. We all, for me, sometimes I know I've struggled with my own anxiety or social anxiety, but I've worked myself through the years to have certain things in my toolkit to pull out to help. But anyway, so there's social anxiety, and there are different types of phobias too. Some people can be very agoraphobic, different things. Some people are scared of like elevators or escalators or bugs, or just people, you'll be surprised what things people are kind of have phobia about to get out. So these are a few of the ones that I would say. And then depression can also be presented where sometimes if people might be hiding, maybe like drinking alcohol or things like that. Sometimes these things are not talked about in our culture typically, especially men. And when alcohol doesn't, some people when they drink, it makes them present it kind of decreases their ability to be have the oomph. Maybe for an hour or two they might feel oomph, but then after that it could all relating to maybe alcohol. So it's something good to check out to make sure, hey, is there any drink? Are they hiding anything? So depression relating to substance use too can also be a consideration. So other types of depression relating to like things like low vitamin D level, right? So sometimes we say types of depression in this part of the world, like the East, Connecticut, Massachusetts, things like that. We are not exposed to the sun a lot.
No.
So low vitamin D level, thyroid level being low. I wrote one or other things, vitamin D, hormone changes for young kids, young girls especially, and then the older 60s going into menopausal age. We don't talk about some of this stuff at all. And so some of those stuff need to be ruled out to make sure it's not a cause to worry about in terms of a type of depression, but more relating to medical reasons as such.
Wow. This depression is a huge umbrella. There's so many things I'm learning today. It's like,
such a big spectrum. Right.
Well, these are all types of depression that Gina is letting us know about. Depression is real. In the Bible, there was a man there, Elijah. We all know about Elijah and the prophet of Baal. And he did all these, killed all of them. And when he heard the message from Jezebel that he was also going to be killed, he prayed to God that he wanted to die. So, we want to say that great man, it doesn't matter who you are. At a point in life, you could get to a point of depression. But that is why we are making these things so that we are aware. So when your mind starts to get into these areas, you catch yourself, bring it back. If you see these symptoms in your children, please take a minute, make sure you are addressing them. And then if you are not able to handle it, then Gina, how do we manage depression? I want you to talk about if there is any diet that we could do. I know you've mentioned some vitamins there. If there is something that you want to say to that effect. And then after that, we'll come to lifestyle. And then if these two doesn't help, then I think the last one will be medications. And
right, for sure. Yeah. Oh God, diet.
Diet.
Wow. So actually do my research for today's conversation or discussion, so to speak. I really started, delving into an area of psychiatry where there's people are more starting to focus more on that. We call it nutritional psychiatry. And for me, over the course of the past few year or two, if not three, a lot of my people that seek help from me, I'm starting to really try to put that as part of the conversation, especially the initial conversation. Also ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
Like, what are you eating? Especially when you're looking at a big research behind the brain-gut connection. Such a direct connection between what we eat, what we put in our gut, and how that manifests or affect our brain or our mental health in general. So there's such a thing, as the microbiome in our gut system. And I usually like to make a comparison of it to, like, if you're into investments and things like that, your financial expert or your financial advisor or your bank or whatever will say, make sure your portfolio is diverse, it's diversified. Like, you have a little bit of the stocks that, to make it.
I love that.
Right? So the same way with our guts.
Beautiful.
So we need to try to make it diverse, right? So in our culture, once again, our diets can be so monotonous, right? So like the rice and the carbs can be so heavy on that. And of course, you do a lot of things with with food, and I love it. So I've been checking your channel, and it's so amazing the work you're doing over there, the impact of nutrition, and especially when it comes to like physical health and how that can impact, different things like diabetes, blood pressure. That's so amazing, even, to like dementia, memory and stuff. So anyway, the microbiome being diverse, but I also like to mention like the color, right? So I am like, I can't say like salad all the time. Like, forget about that. Like, we have to be practical and we have to be really, right. So you can have salad like, okay, we do the whole fit size. Okay, if you're gonna have rice, or I'll say jollof. If you don't know what jollof is, you're listening, is one of our go look it up. Go look it up. What jollof is
on Google.
or the bankus or the kinkies, all those good stuff. But make sure you're adding another feed size, if not more, if you can do it, of diverse colors of vegetables, especially. So the more the color is there, the better. What they found is, even from infancy, like when babies are born, what we introduce them to start to formulate what their microbiomes will be as they go forward in life, right? Yeah. So the more you have like a microbiome that's diverse, that's in tune to having those bacteria from the food that you are eating from infancy, like vegetables, you're introducing all this good stuff without really starting right away with like the sweets and all that, because then the microbiome will want that more, because what you introduce, first your palate gets used to it, and then your microbiomes will start to urge your brain to want more of that. Yeah. But as we grow up, it's not too late though. We can change that, but it's going to take some degree of discipline and some degree of sticking to it, without really trying to find my words. Like, you have to stick to it to make it work, right? Because sometimes habits takes a few days. Sometimes I say, hey, at least 30 days, if not 60, then you do it, and then it becomes a habit. Then you start realizing that you actually like that better than what you were doing before. So really, that gut-brain connection is super important, but that gut-brain connection stems from the microbiome, and the microbiome, the bacteria diversity, which helps them produce more of the chemicals we need in our brain to help us feeling better, of course, because we have that connection. Now, some of these chemicals, I don't want to throw it out there, but I'll mention one, which is like serotonin, epinephrine, like GABA. Those are all really good things for anxiety and depression, but they all 90+% of all those things, believe it or not, me, myself, realized that until maybe a few years back. And I realized, wow, what a connection. All reside in our gut. So if you're filling your body with all those bad junk food, I call it what it is, junk. Sugar, like the sugars, and sugars. I know the processed food. That's what I was gonna say. Like, sugars are not just from, sometimes we think sugars are just from like sugar, what we call sugar, but sugar can be in pasta sauce, rice, yogurt, the ones that are loaded. Kefir, you have yogurt when it have a good amount of the fermented bacteria in it. Listen, I used to remember my mom cooking bambara beans. And anybody who doesn't know bambara beans, I really don't know how it's called. What is bambara beans in American terminology? It's like a type of bean. Yeah, it is. Yeah, right. And then closer to like garbanzo beans. Okay. And then black eyed peas, things like that. My mom used to soak it, sometimes a day or overnight, to ferment it. Even corn. Do you know that such a health benefit to that? But we just do it as part of our culture. But there's such benefit to the fermentation process of that. Any type of fermented food is so good for the gut. So I'm putting it out there. If you're going to eat your beans is really good for us anyway. And things like, any type of fermented food, I'll put that big umbrella, is good for our guts. I would say just start to reach out to somebody like Salome, get a good diet going, get the good bacteria diversified in the microbiome going. If that's difficult, probiotics, prebiotics, they have different versions of them now. Try to invest in them and just take them, because it will help your gut to start to feel better. And the inflammation or inflammatory chemicals in there that cause us to feel low energy, no motivation, feeling blinding. Kids these days, we frequently are finding they have a lot of irritability, can't focus in class, right? Like they are very on edge. You have a lot of kids now, like not sitting in class. Not to check, like you have to rule it out to make sure they don't have ADHD or learning disability or autism or anything like that. That needs to be ruled out. But sometimes it's directly related to what we are feeding our children as well, what they eat, what are they eating for breakfast?
Yes.
If they're eating oats, is that oats loaded with sugar? Like, and then the creamers that we use for coffee, all this stuff is loaded with sugar. We need to look at that.
A lot of colors.
Yeah. So really doing like soy is better for you. They have those now that have the vanilla extra. There's a little sweetness to it, but it's better for you than just the raw, heavy creamers that we use. So those things are super important to really find that diversification in our microbiomes to help.
So now that gut brain connection. We are so focused here, Ezra Wellness. We keep talking about diet. It affects every part of the body because your food will become your blood, believe it or not. Yes. And the serotonin, which is going to make you feel good and come out of depression, 90%, think about that, is produced in your gut. So please make sure you're eating healthy.
Right.
So, Tina, is there any lifestyle changes that we could do apart from diet?
Apart from diet, a lot of like, even with the season here, we have some, I didn't highlight it too much, but the seasonal affected depression that can happen with the change from fall to winter, even sometimes from winter to spring. We can do like light exposure. So sometimes you can buy the light. There's a lot of it on Amazon or different websites. You just look at light therapy. If you can't go outside first in the morning, but if you can go for a little light, 10, 15, 30 minutes walk outside, now that we're getting more of that morning sun, go there, absorb that morning sun, because it can activate and get those good serotonin kicked up and help you revamp that natural vitamin D. If you're not supplementing, that's a natural way to supplement your vitamin D, which can give you more energy. So that's part also working out, right? So walking is good for some good workout, burn some calories. If you can go hiking, as the word changes, go hiking. If you can go to the gym, that's great. I always encourage like yoga. Any type of movement is good movement. Even if you can't do much, right, and you're like in your negative thought pattern, like, oh, life sucks for me, why do I have to deal with this? Or you have some traumatic life incidences happening, you have a loss, transition, loss of a parent this past few years. A lot of people have had a lot of losses, right? Lots of losses, people passing away, our family members. If you're feeling that way, any type of movement, if you can change any type of movement, one, and two, if you can change the way you're thinking, just changing how you're thinking about your circumstances, which drives me to talk about journaling. Like, even if you have like a line a day, I know it can seem like, what? Just really, when you have a negative thought or whatever thought you have, just journaling it down, or doing gratitude journaling is another great way. Like, you look at things in your life, like, I can breathe on my own. I can eat on my own without needing a tube. There's so many people in the hospital who can wish to be in your shoes, things like that. Like, people who are homeless, they wish they have a roof over their head like you. So really changing the narrative, what you are talking to yourself about, like how you're, negatively impacting, because sometimes what you put out there is what sometimes you can get back to you. So that yoga. And then going to meditation. Meditation for me can be anywhere from you're going through nature, looking at how God is so beautiful. Oh my God, look at the sunshine, look at the sunset. Or things like really connecting with faith. Because if you don't have faith, you don't have hope, you don't have anything. For real, if you don't have faith, for me, I don't know about you, but I know my faith in my
Definitely.
walk with the, if you believe in the higher up, then so be it. But I believe in God, and that's what I identify with. But if you do identify with nature,
Yeah.
so meditation can be that, or meditation can be your time with just reading the word, even if it's just 5 minutes, writing down something from the word, meditating on it, and knowing that God got your back, knowing that even if you have the most difficult time, God has a way of taking it out at his
Definitely.
time and resting in his peace and knowing that he's working it out. Besides you also seeking help, like if it's church counseling you want to do, you feel comfortable with that, your church pastor, your elders. If that doesn't feel comfortable because you're right there, you don't want to keep talking about
Don't be
maybe
comfortable
your,
so much.
right, yeah, seek a counselor, a therapist, someone like myself, a psychologist, who you can have that safe space, you can feel
Yeah.
safe
To
to
share.
talk, to share, to talk about what you're doing. There's nothing that you're talking about, you're dealing with that is so shameful that you have to hide it, or you have to hide behind and deal with it by yourself.
Mm.
Or you know it, once you start opening about it, somebody will be like, oh wow, I too. And somebody, wow, and you all of a sudden you feel like, oh, okay, all this time I thought I was all
You're not
alone in
alone.
this thing that I'm dealing with. So,
Yeah.
seek help. And I know the next thing you're gonna ask me is probably like, what are some of the places? So while I'm ranting on here, I'm so excited. Like, I just want to make sure, like, are people listening to us today?
That's the
Like,
point.
listen, please, there's such help out there.
There is.
Right. Look online, like start even from online. Psychology today is a big hub for all of us, providers or counselors, different types of counselors that are on there. Just filter it and see who you will be a good tailor for you. Don't hesitate to go to your church. If you have a supportive church leadership or pastors who can help you. If not, go to a church family, seek a church family that can have that ideology or mentality around mental health, mental wellness. A lot of churches now are becoming more and more open-minded about mental health.
Yeah.
To begin with, you can always call 211. There's somebody there 24/7. When I say 24/7, it's free. There's
Yeah.
somebody always at that back of the line who can talk through you through things. You're feeling unsafe, you're feeling low. They can guide you, they can give you resources. If it's a financial stressor, guess what? 211 will guide you to resources in the state so you
Beautiful.
can get some assistance, because financial stress is another reason
It
why
is.
a lot of people get low or angry or use substances or numb it or are so like feeling hopeless because how do I pay my bill? How do I pay my dad? How do I take care of my kids? It's a lot, but breathe through it and know that there's help. 211, if it's really bad, things are really not happening and you're feeling unsafe, call 911. Go to your nearest shelters as well. They always have open arms to welcome you. If they don't have any resource, they will guide you. That's a good step, right? To
That's
guide
it.
you to where you need to go or where you need to call to get the assistance that you need right away.
Good. 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 Thank you so much for that. You viewers, you're thinking, why are you so talking? This is the reason why people take their life.
Oh, for
Recently, we heard that Miss America, a
sure.
lawyer, a young lady that have everything going for her. Think about it. How can you become a Miss America? You have to be a strong-headed young woman. You have to be intelligent. You have to be smart. You have to be pretty. She
For
had
sure.
everything. But this young woman took her life. With all that everybody was seeing, she felt so lonely enough in her corner that she had to die. So
Yeah.
please, we don't want you to take this lightly. We know that we're talking a lot, but we want you to listen in and please call 211 if you cannot. And even now, you could even test 911 if you are
Yeah.
in danger and
Right.
you
For
don't
sure.
have to call, and they will know where you are and they will bring you help. Wherever you are, also in any other part of the world, focus on the family too, is another people.
For
They're
sure.
out there and they're really good. 1
Yeah.
800 A family. We were going to put all these resources underneath the video so you could reach out to them and they will help you. We don't want you to be alone thinking you don't have help. There is help. So we want you to reach out. And if you don't reach out, we will never know that you need help. so that we
Right.
bring it to you. Then, Gina, before you go to medication management, I just want you to talk to people who see these signs. You see somebody you're living with, they're coming up with these signs. You see they are depressed, they are not coming out. Maybe even your roommate, maybe your child, you try to talk out to them, you're reaching out. What are some of the things that we could do as a support in our community before
Right,
medication
right.
help?
So the first thing I would say is please take the shame out of it. Don't take the shame out of some of this stuff. Stop shaming people when they come. Don't just say, why don't you just try harder? Oh, is this something I did? Did I fail as a parent? Did I fail as a friend? Oh my God. And then you try to make it all about you or trying to shame the person for not being able to. The more you do that, the more you're going to have the person feel maybe, you know, the difficulty to open up or want to have the help. But of course, as the people who are observing, sometimes it can be a very difficult journey to be on, especially as a friend, as a family member, when you have another person who is struggling with mental health concerns. I don't like using the word mental illness. It just makes it I just don't like that. Mental mental health conditions or struggling with mental health, so to speak. You have to find your center first. And if you're finding it difficult to do it after a while of doing it and trying to get them the attention they need, you then go ahead and take the step on their behalf.
Okay.
Because sometimes the fact is, if it's low serotonin, low level of these chemicals, they're just going to constantly just be in this state of blandness, of just lack motivation to want to do it, or just angry, or just like all the time. And you as a family member or a friend, you'll feel burned out after a while, and then you might give up or start feeling remorse or anger towards them. So sometimes it's good to then look at other avenues to seek the help for them on their behalf. Some of these resources that we mentioned, just go around it and seek it. If it's somebody that you feel like, especially if it's a relationship based, like a romantic type of relationship based, distressing type of thing, then if you're not feeling safe, then it's good to quickly seek help, through pastoral counseling, or seek help through other resources that we have mentioned today. But it's a good idea to go around it, because sometimes that third party with a different perspective, sometimes able to fall on better grounds than you constantly going and on and on, and then start to take the blame on yourself and making it seem like, especially if you're dealing with a kid to a parent relationship too, can be like that. And then sometimes we bring the kids to Sunday school, like, oh my God, I don't know what to do with them anymore. Here, pray for them, fix them. But sometimes it's just, and I want to mention, there's such big counseling resources available right in the school systems, okay? That kids don't even need to have another time set aside. The counselors can be right there, but it takes you to speak up and reach out on the behalf, be an advocate to then see, and then they will provide counseling for your child while they are right there in the school. And you see such a big difference in not just the child, but in the whole family dynamic as a whole, because the source of the stressor in the family is being helped. So the whole environment in the home, just the tension decreases.
Okay. We want to talk about medication. Just briefly on medication. The fear is that, immediately I go take that pill, I'm going to be on the rest of my life. I think that is the number one fear. That's why people, and then when we go and they give it to us, we don't even want to take it. So please, I want you to speak into that. I know there are medications that they could be used, but does that mean we have to be on for the rest of our lives?
I know, right? If you're a believer here, I'll say, I'm using this for those people, those of us on here who are listening might be believers. And if you're not, it's okay. You don't have to take it. But God gave us certain things in place, including medication, medical, experts,
Yeah.
providers, doctors, nutritionists, things like that, to help us to feel better. Sometimes depression, anxiety is not just behavior or things that the person is doing that they could do better. It's actually low levels, just like you can have low level of insulin that relates to diabetes.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So replenishing it with medication will help so the person then can feel more able to do things. Now, I always say at least give it 6 months, if not a year maximum, to try it. Then you can take what we call medication holiday, get off of it, see how you do without it. Of course, I always encourage in that time while you're on medication, as well as while you're off, to continue supportive therapy, counseling. So once you get off, try to do instead of once a week or every other week, maybe do therapy twice a week, beginning of the week, end of week. So you have that support to have that safe outlets to distress. So medication is not a lifetime sentence, especially if you continue to do some of this lifestyle changes that we've talked about.
Yeah.
Diet, exercising, being mindful, distressing, managing your stress, really creating boundaries around you, being able to say no without guilt, getting better sleep habits. So much spectrum to it. We can talk here to the cows. It's another big area.
Yes.
It's just like really, but if you're anxious to begin with, sleep is like not happening.
No.
Sleep is not happening. If your sleep is not happening, please get some help with sleep as well. Sleep hygiene is such big part. I'm sure maybe one day we'll talk about sleep.
Definitely.
Things like that. But oh, these are so exciting.
Oh, yeah.
And it's life changing. It's really life changing, Salome. But I want to talk to somebody out there. If it will take you to take medication, if you give it 3 months, 6 months, at least give it a year to help you feel better, it's not a life sentence. And these days, I want to mention, if you're with a provider, you've tried a couple of things, you've had a lot of side effects and it's putting you off, suggest to your provider to do what we call genetic testing. Oh God, thank God for this new thing now. We can do genetic testing that helps us find medications right away that will be better fit for you, because we all different. That's why we all have different fingerprints, right?
Yeah.
All our fingerprints are not the same. So once we do that genetic testing, it comes out with a list, it narrows it down, say, hey, this 5 medication will work better for Gina. So we'll start taking out of that. And a lot of people have better response, positive response to those medications than otherwise. Some people, you go right away and they have good responses, but other people who might have to consider doing the genetic testing. So then they have better response. Then they are better able to, stay with it, be compliant with taking the meds and then feeling better and doing other stuff better. Then the whole family and the whole community is better.
Beautiful. I'm glad that we could take medication. Please, if we need it, go ahead, talk to your doctor, genetic testing, take the meds for a while, get the support so that it doesn't lead to the extremes.
Yes.
Because we don't want to leave loved ones to.
Yes.
Well, Gina, where could people find you? They're listening, they say, oh my God, that lady who do genetic testing, I better talk to her.
Talk to her, come talk to me, call me. Psych on Demand. So yeah, like I changed my name, I can meet you anywhere on the phone, by video, by text, email. But anyway, Psychology Today is one of the places. You type in my name, either Psych on Demand, Georgina Chumesi. My other name is Georgina Chumesi Mental Health LLC, or Psych on Demand. You can find me on YouTube, like Salome had mentioned. You can follow me I'm very active on Instagram as well. Type my name. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. So, and then my email is ginachumezimentalhealth.com. So you can also check out my website to get other resources as well.
Beautiful. And I'm going to put all those information underneath the videos.
Awesome.
Please check her out. Even if you have somebody you've already been seeing, a psych AP, nurses, APRNs, because we were nurses, the assessment is very deep. So I really love APRNs because they do a great job. Check her out. Maybe your doctor haven't done the genetic testing yet. She could do that and make sure you're on the right medication. Yes. Well, Gina, as we bring a conversation to a close, what would you say will be your last words to our viewers?
Oh my gosh, my last word. And this word is taken from one of my big, how do I even say, like life changers in the journey of my mental health, wellness, so to speak, as well as my journey in my hope and faith, TD Jakes. So in his
Oh,
word, and I always use this word, if you can whip it in your mind, if you can whip it in your brain, guess what? You can whip it in every aspect of your life, your home, your
whoa.
paycheck, your home, your work environment, your church home. So take care of your mind, take care of your brain first, center yourself. Everywhere else in your life will start to show up the same way.
Beautiful,
Incredible.
beautifully said, beautifully said. Gina, that was beautifully said. Whip it in your mind and you could whip it everywhere. Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time. I know you were a
Oh,
busy woman and I've gotten your time for that. I'm excited about it. I know definitely we'll have more of this coming up.
for sure.
Sometime we're going to go live and talk about this.
Yes,
Let
I
people
think life will be good.
okay, yes, so that people will bring out questions because people are hurting and they
Yes,
desperately need the help.
it's just the
Well,
beginning.
viewers, well, thank you so much for watching this video. If you are new here, we want you to subscribe, share this video to the world, let people hear about the mental wellness that we're doing here, that people should get well mentally so that we could whip it everywhere in our life. Until we
Sure.
see you in the next video, remember, this is Ezra Wellness, where you learn proven ways to healthy living. Thank you for your time.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.